God removes that which is not for us any longer. And we can fight, we can scrape, we can scream, we can do everything to hold on. And you may put in blood, sweat, years, and a lot of tears, but eventually you always end up where you're meant to be in the end of it all.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Today I'm here hoping to be able to interview Joey Wilder. He is the creator, inventor, founder, you name it.
We have Joey Wilder, first time coming on the show.
But at that moment, I had a choice to make. I either hit this while it's hot, while people are hyped up about it, or kind of let it simmer out. And I've been told by many great mentors that it's all about the timing of things. God removes that which is not for us any longer. And we can fight, we can scrape, we can scream, we can do everything to hold on. And you may put in blood, sweat, years, and a lot of tears, but eventually you always end up where you're meant to be in the end of it all. And if you guys realize that, like when you look at things retrospectively, like look back 10 years from now, or think of that time when you were experiencing that thing that you didn't think you were going to make it through. Think back to that time. And if you can, put the year in the chat right now. For me, 2021. 2021 was a year that I did not think I was going to make it through. But for you guys, I'm curious, when was the year in the chat? And I'm going to get us to a point. I just want to make sure all this is going, because I'm going to parlay this into our training today, which is love without boundaries. Now, when I say love, there's probably a lot of guys on this call that are going to hear that and say, oh yeah, well, I know you need to have love in a relationship with boundaries. And I'm not just talking about in a relationship. Love without boundaries can also apply to yourself. And I'm going to get into that, but I just want to dive in here. You had 2022 to 2023. Yeah, I get it. And that's been quite some time since then. You know, everyone on this call, man, I feel for you, Lance. I truly do. My daughter's mother navigates similar dichotomy. And that actually provided complications for us during the duration of pregnancy. But I won't get into that. We've all been in that place where we don't like the now that we're in. We just want a different reality. You know, I was speaking with a guy this morning, and he was sharing with me like his takeaway from our conversation and our call. And really what he had shared was, my takeaway from it was the sheer fact that, man, if I do nothing with where I'm at outside of just hoping that it changes, I'm always going to stay in this place. Because realistically, he has no boundaries for himself, which leads to him having no love for himself, which leads to him having no boundaries with others, which leads to you feeling completely and utterly empty and alone inside. Sound familiar? Any guys on here relate to that when I say that? And I'm not here to demonize you. However, I am here to call you forward, because you and I both know that there is more for you. But there's not more if you just choose to exist and wait for things to get better. Because guys, put simply, love without boundaries invites chaos, which is the topic of today's training. Love without boundaries invites chaos. Now, when I say chaos, I mean, picture the fiery plague as, Jesus sends it down. I'm kidding, guys. We're not going to go that route. But guys, love without boundaries invites chaos. It invites you being used and you don't recognize it because you're a people pleaser, because you just want to be accepted and loved and liked. I get it. Guys, boundaries are simply how you want to be treated and what happens if you're not treated that way. Boundaries are how you want to be treated and what happens if you're not treated that way. I see this happen a lot. Men are not great at detaching the consequence of violating a boundary from the person. Now, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say like your wife or your girlfriend, you're setting a boundary and you're mad. You're mad that she broke this boundary. And instead of having a logical consequence, which if you don't drink water, you'll be thirsty. If you don't eat, you'll be hungry. Instead of having a logical consequence, you go for this you go for this high level consequence that is more about punishment than having follow through of consequences for actions. Does that make sense? And I get it, guys. We're hurt. When you're hurt by your partner, it sucks. But I'm curious, why is it that we want to punish our partner, but we uphold fair, logical consequences with others? It's almost like, I love you so deeply, so I have to punish you deeper. That sentence sounds weird out of context. I digress. But guys, setting boundaries in a relationship or with yourself is one of the most important steps that you can take to cultivate trust and respect. I don't know about you guys, but I won't tolerate being in a relationship where there's not trust or respect. I said that exact vernacular to someone that I am seeing in a way the other evening because I do not desire to come down to their level. And that is not to say that I'm better or worse. I simply am further on in the journey and have more clarity on what I am willing to tolerate and what I stand for and what I desire to have in my life. It took a lot of blood, sweat, years, and a lot of fucking tears to get here. And true conviction and time with myself, by myself, productively. I wasn't out there wetting my whistle, stroking my ego, seeing how many women love me. Enough. I'm kidding. But guys, anytime you don't set boundaries for yourself, you won't be able to set boundaries for others. Because any love without boundaries, any friendship, relationship, business partnership without boundaries invites chaos. Even the best relationships, the ones that have the best sex, can feel chaotic, leaving one of you feeling either undervalued or overwhelmed. I have been on both sides of that. I have been given this great experience of a gift of, in relationships, I have had women share with me, you have it all together. And I feel like my life is in process and broken. And I work on that. And I actually had someone I really cared about deeply share with me that she resented me due to my success because she believed that she deserved it more than myself. It's like, ooh. That was the mother of one of my children. I'm not going to contextualize it. But in that, it's because I had no boundaries. I also wasn't the man that I am now, and I didn't know what I know. But in this, when boundaries are communicated in a clear and healthy way, they're meant to protect your heart and really allow you to have a lasting love or conviction in going an alternate path. Does that make sense? Now, guys, I know I'm going to the 45 mark, but I want to get through these because boundaries aren't just for your wives or your girlfriends. Boundaries are for our colleagues. Boundaries are for our friends that overstep. I've been having a lot of conversations about boundaries. And guys, I'll share a simple one with you. Okay, so this is a cell phone, right? It has a phone number. It also has Facebook. There are times that people will ask me for my phone number in person, and I'll say, yeah, add me on Facebook. Message me there. And they're like, oh, just give me your phone number. I'm like, no, it goes to the same phone. I'm setting a boundary there. Not everyone deserves to have access to you. Not everyone deserves a response. And guys, you want to see peace? I showed this to someone last night. All y'all that have like 1,000 like messages, 20,000 emails, zero. All of those open loops there, those things left unsaid, those conversations you haven't responded to, those emails you haven't gotten back to. I was just sharing that with her last night. And I was like, you have 117 unread text messages. And I was like, that just creates uncertainty for me. I said, regardless if they're like telemarketers, things of that nature, those are all open loops. That's like staying connected to someone that has been inside you and then doing business with them while you're in a relationship with someone. It's out of covenant. You'll be fun for a while, but you're not going to be the wife. You guys get what I'm saying? Those are open loops energetically. That's my value. If anyone hears that listens to this and they have conflicting views, let's have a conversation about it. I'm open to hearing your thoughts. I won't change my stance though. Those are open loops. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be in a room on my wedding day or later on in life with my children and have a man that has been inside my wife inside the same room. I simply hold myself to a higher regard than that. There's men out there that are fine with that. I'm not. If I had $1 every time I've had a man ask me to cuck his wife, I'd be pretty wealthy. I'm dead serious. There's some weak fucking men out there because they have no boundaries. And I feel for you guys. And if you guys don't know what that word I just said is, don't Google it on your like computer. That's another thing that Joey said that is NSFW. I'll tell you guys in the Telegram. That means not safe for work. But guys, what does setting boundaries actually mean? It means communicating your needs, your limits, and your values clearly. They aren't walls to keep people out. They're frameworks for how you want to be treated and how you treat others in return. Now, guys, boundaries is not about control. They're about protecting your emotional safety and ensuring that the love, connection, and friendship relationship continues to grow within parameters that your needs are being met, your limits are not being crossed, and your values are being honored, and so are theirs. This is the most simple way to explain this. Boundaries are not a bad thing. Yeah, the boundaries you set up for yourself, man. A lot of guys could really do much better in the process of going through this if they did not pain shop and if they upheld that boundary for themselves. You know, that means like going on their Instagram and seeing the person that just started following them and then going to their photos and seeing if they liked each other's photos and then seeing that date and then quantifying it with other dates that are relevant. You guys get what I'm getting at? Everyone's done that or some form of it. Boundaries are essentially what is meant to keep your heart safe. And that is not to say that the person on the other end of that boundary is unsafe. It's to enable your safety and them to feel seen in honoring their boundaries and not crossing yours. Yeah, it took me a while to understand that. Yeah. And you know what? It's more men that see it that way. Boundaries are boundaries are to protect them. And it's because men are demonized. I believe it is because men are demonized. You know, we're the identified patient. We're the identified problem. You know, man or bear. How about this? You choose the bear, I'll kill the bear. You can stay in the wilderness alone. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack on YouTube, but that's okay. I believe in amendments and gun rights. So guys, I want to parlay into why are boundaries actually crucial? Well, they allow you to trust. They prevent resentment by addressing unmet needs. And they encourage both of you to grow together because it creates respect. It doesn't create passive aggressive rhetoric and dialogue. Man, guys, the second something is present and it violates one of your boundaries or your values or your limits, say something. It's never exciting to like break frame when you're in like a really compassionate moment with someone. And sometimes, commonly, you're met with, "You're really going to bring this up right now?" "Yeah, I am, because it's a boundary for me." Is exactly how I met that literal dialogue. Because guys, if you truly care about the person that you're upholding these boundaries with, you owe it to yourself and them to pause, think, and breathe. PTB, pause, think, breathe. Anytime you're triggered, guys, pause, think, and breathe. Anytime you react, it is never a good thing. As I literally, I've been put in some very interesting, testy scenarios. And I have to say, I'm really proud of how I've shown up. Because a past version of me would have been like, "Ooh, you test the gangster in me. You gonna learn today. You're gonna learn today. I'm gonna hurt you." But guys, when boundaries are ignored or unclear, our relationships and friendships often spiral into misunderstandings, miscommunications, and that just leads to like frustrations over these fickle, little, mundane things sometimes. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, why are these little things the toppling point for the foundation? The life that some men live of quiet desperation and walking on eggshells and existing in the shell of the man they once were ends with healthy boundaries. And they're for you. They're not to protect them. Guys, your wife, your girlfriend's emotions are not your responsibility. They're not your responsibility. You should not have a bad day because your girlfriend or your wife is having a bad day. You guys hear that? You should not be having a bad day because your wife or your girlfriend is having a bad day. You can empathize, but you should not be in the trenches right next to them. You can support them and champion them, but if you are in their misery with them because misery loves company, you're part of the problem because you're just continuing the behavior. You know, the woman that I'm seeing, she was sharing with me, she shares a lot with me because I listen. And you know, automatically, like she shares with me because I have answers to things and I'm business savvy and I've done this in many different ways and she enjoys my mind. And in that, I don't always answer the question unless she asks me for feedback. It creates a cadence of permission. Sometimes we get caught up in just convoluting and becoming Mr. Fix-It and the people pleaser instead of asking for permission, instead of sharing what the boundary is. I'll give you an example. She had turned to me and she's like, "Oh my God, you're so dramatic." And I said, "Hey, it's really triggering when people say that I'm dramatic. Can you please not ever say it to me again?" And she looked at me, she was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I was like, "Thank you. Do you have any words that are like hyper triggering for you?" And she shared with me. Permission slip, boundary, permission slip. You guys see how that works? Like super easy. And we had a big blow up. I told Josh about it, but I'm not going to get into that. And we navigated it in a healthy way due to my compassionate and delicate framing in the leadership. Guys, it's not easy. Trust me. I wanted to be like, "Hey, you're being a bitch right now. I'm an adult. I speak to adults. Do you want to go to your sandbox?" I would never say that to someone. But guys, here's how you start to set boundaries in your relationships, in your friendships, your colleagues, and the people around you. Number one, you need to identify your needs. Like, what are your emotional needs? Ask yourself this: what makes me feel secure in this relationship? What behaviors am I not okay with? And here's the example. If constant interruptions during arguments bother you, your need might be for calm, uninterrupted discussions. Another example, if yelling in conversation leads to you feeling uncomfortable, which is one for me, I will exit the conversation and exit where we are and speak to you in 24 hours. Because I have experienced the negative side of women yelling at men. And I'll tell you this, When someone gets called, there's one person that comes, and it doesn't matter who the aggregator is. You guys get what I'm saying? You play dumb games, you win dumb prizes, and it's not worth it. So it's important to clarify these, guys, and it starts with your needs. And number 2 is communicate clearly. Guys, the foundation of any friendship, relationship, or anything built to last is clear communication when setting boundaries. And this means using I statements instead of you. You always do this. You never listen. You never tell me anything. You're so inconsiderate. You're selfish. Gatorade, if you see this, sponsor me. Jack in the Box, still waiting to hear back. Yeah, Michael, you missed it. We're trying to get a lifetime supply of the tacos. You know. Yeah, see, everyone knows they're great, but they hurt so good. Yeah, guys, put them in the air fryer, 2 minutes. Thank me later. Guys, using I statements. I feel hurt when plans change at the last minute without discussion. In the future, I would appreciate being included in those decisions so we can feel collaborative in this. Thank you. Guys, I'm giving you different framings than I've given you in the past because I'm expanding on a lot of the things that I previously developed in the past elsewhere and making them better. 5-dimensional man is cute. Just dropping that because I'm going to use it for SEO. And guys, here's the third one. Set consequences. Guys, boundaries are meaningless without follow through. If you don't follow through, like, your boundaries are just words. They don't mean anything. You get to calmly explain what will happen if your boundaries crossed. For instance, if you continue to raise your voice during arguments, I'll have to step away until we can both feel comfortable and speak in a calm manner, and I'll be doing so for 24 hours. Guys, consequences reinforce emotional safety and ensure boundaries are respected. It's how you teach someone how you want to be treated. It's how you teach someone how you want to be spoken to, how you want to be loved, how you don't want to be loved. And guys, I just want to share a few examples of healthy boundaries because they differ for everyone. But time boundaries. I need 1 night a week to focus on my personal projects. Guys, how many of your lives would change if you were able to tell your wife that instead of like having to like try to finish projects and like do this and do that? And you guys know what I'm saying? It is okay to ask for these things, or even your girlfriend. I do. I'm like, hey, I want to listen to you. However, I'm in the middle of doing something. Can I come back to you in this in 10 minutes? Or do you want to speak about it right now? And then I'll address my work after. What feels best for you? And guys, communication boundaries. Please let me finish speaking before responding so I can thoroughly respond and it doesn't feel like I'm being heard when I'm not done speaking yet. Guys, these things are fair because it sucks when like someone starts responding before you're done, and you can even go on further if you want to put a fair consequence in that. And this last one is emotional boundaries. When someone says, I am not comfortable talking about this topic right now, I don't want to talk about this right now. I had a past ex that was really good at that. And, you know, I didn't want to stir the pot. So I was like, oh, okay. She's like, she doesn't want to talk about it right now, but she'll come back. And she never did. And then when you approach it, you're like, oh, you're still on that? That's called emotional manipulation. They're really good at that. Because someone allowed them to get away with that behavior. Here's what you say. I understand. I can completely respect that you're not comfortable discussing this topic right now. It's important to me that we close the loop on this. With that being said, I'd like to speak within the next 24 hours about this. Can I rely on you to meet me there? Can I rely on you? Guys, reliance is a big thing. And guys, you're going to get pushback Because when you set boundaries, some people may feel uncomfortable or resistant, especially if they're not used to it. And guys, you get to stay calm and stay assertive, stand in your power. And here's how. I'm going to break it down into 3, and then I'm going to close us out with the next and final point. Because the first one is, guys, you have to stay consistent. Every time you have to follow through. That's how they don't do it again. Guys, think about it. Did you guys ever touch the stove when you were kids? Okay, thank you for nodding your head, Lance. Okay, cool. Everyone did? Yeah, okay. Every man on here did. I did too. I knew it was hot, but I wanted to touch it. I wanted to know what the boundary was. It looked fun. And how did I learn? No, I stuck a fork. Good God, Josh. I used to put BB gun pellets in the socket. Yeah. I wish we had an electrician on here because he would totally tell us, like, you guys are awful. It was a shocking experience. Zing. Guys, you got to stay consistent. You got to reinforce your boundaries without anger or blame. And number 2, validate their feelings. Acknowledge their perspective while standing firm on your needs. Here's what it sounds like. I see you. What I'm hearing is this is really affecting you, and I really empathize, and you're completely valid in how you're feeling. However, I'll also add that this is a boundary for me, and it hurts when it's crossed. Therefore, I have to uphold this consequence for this amount of time, and we'll come back when we're both comfortable, lovingly. You can take off the lovingly if you want to be less empathetic. And this third one, focus on solutions, not criticism. Focus on solutions. Find ways to honor each other's boundaries. When you come together in the future, what would be a better way of me to approach this from your perspective? I'd like to hear from you, and then I'll share from my point of view. Guys, this is how you literally ask them, like, what is a better way for me to approach this? And then you say, I want to share after. Guys, you got to set the cadence. You got to set the parameters. It's not control. It's how you build healthy foundations. Because, guys, the power of boundaries comes from the magic in setting them and the follow through. When the person you're setting boundaries with respects your boundaries, emotional safety deepens and trust grows. And guys, guess what? When there's trust, there's lust. If you want to have sex, better start setting healthy boundaries, because if she doesn't trust you, there will be no true submission. Truly. Every relationship is built on a foundation of mutual respect, clear communication, and boundaries that protect both of you. Because, guys, realistically, boundaries are simply how you want to be treated and what happens if you're not treated that way. And you can start small. And, guys, if you ever are curious if something is a boundary or control, ask yourself, is it to protect me or to protect them? That is the key indicator in knowing, is it for you or is it for them? And sit with it. And guys, if you ever need a resource or anything like that, there's going to be a resource in the description. But for my guys that are live on the call, I'm going to give you guys something new. It's called a boundaries blueprint. And it basically is going to break down boundaries in different areas of your life. Like, what are my boundaries with work? Like for me, guys, I will not work on my computer in an area that is normally a relaxing space with my partner in the same room. Because I do not want to set that cadence of being so close, yet so far away. You guys get what I'm saying? Guys, love without boundaries invites chaos. And I don't want that for you. Now, gentlemen, that's all I got for you for today. I appreciate you all being here. I will see you on the next one. Peace.